I took the art from graffiti, which I got arrested for.
Yeah.
I took the hustle mentality and the business entrepreneurship from selling drugs, and I combined the two, and I made a lucrative business.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Brad Kofman Chop Shop, where we're chopping it up with Worm, also known as WermOne, artist and legendary Chicago graffiti artist. Worm, how the hell you doing?
Good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you for doing
Nice
this,
to
man.
meet
Taking
you.
the time. We haven't met yet, which is cool. And I love that because I know you know Nick. And shout out to Good News Studio. That's Nick and Corey's studio here. They set up the whole thing. They made it look legit and nice, and we appreciate them for it. But okay, so Worm, let's start from the basics.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago. I grew up on the South Side. I pretty much lived in every neighborhood: Bridgeport, Brighton Park, McKinley Park, back of the yards. I moved around a lot.
Yeah. Oh, you moved around a lot.
Yeah.
We were talking a minute ago. You were like, "Oh, you're a comedian. I know some comedians." You mentioned Joey Villagomez. Did you grow up with Joey in back of the yards?
Yeah. So I knew Joey for a while. He's been in McKinley Park area for a long time, and he's always been a really funny dude. They used to always call him the clown.
Yeah. That was his special, the clown. Yeah, Joey's a legit dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So you grew up on the South Side, still live there today, born and raised, still live there?
Yeah. No, I'm South Side at heart. I can't move anywhere else.
Hell yeah. Sox fan?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
That's the one this is like the one time in history, not in history, but in a while, that it's been better to be a Cubs fan than a Sox fan.
Yeah, this is the worst. But
we're kind of relishing in it because my whole life, the Cubs were so fucking bad, and they'd get like somewhere and they'd blow it. I'm just thinking of like when they lost the pennant and all that shit. But the Sox when they went in 2004 and then again
and then that was it.
Yeah, 2004 was the last one. Yeah. But man, it's been tough. All right, so you are an artist?
Yes, I'm a graffiti artist, but now I'm a legitimate artist.
Okay. Real quick before we go backwards in time, why don't you define what that means? Legitimate artist, graffiti artist. Tell me what.
Well,
I
means. Started off doing graffiti, spray painting on buildings in 1993.
Sick.
So it's been about 30 years that I've been doing graffiti with spray paint. But doing it legitimately is now I do. That's the only thing that I do to support my family.
Wow.
Since 2004.
So that's a while.
Yeah, so about 20 years I've been doing art professionally, and that's all I do. I don't do anything else.
When you say legitimately, is that still like spray paint? Like, are you doing murals?
Yeah.
Or like you doing another form of art too?
Yeah, no. It's a lot of different things. But
here's some of your shit. Yeah, I was looking at your shit earlier. I love it. Can we like pull up some of those?
Yeah, so there's like I do canvases. There's murals. I'm even doing like a brand, a clothing brand for WermOne, which is my name.
Yeah.
It's funny because people told me, they're like, yo, that's a logo. I'm like, nah, that's not a logo. That's just my name. And they're like, well, why do you write Worm? And I'm like, well, I write Worm because when you do graffiti, you want to make it as fast as possible.
Yep.
So instead of 2 letters, I was like, what if I could do 1 letter? And I seen Sesame Street, Oscar the Grouch, there was a W, it looked like a worm. I was like, oh, I could do a worm. And then that'll be the fastest letter. And somebody's like, that's a logo. I'm like, bro, it's not a logo, it's my name. They're like, bro, it's a brand. I'm like, bro, shut up already. And then like here it is, like 10 years later, I was like, oh, let me just try it for shits and giggles. And I did a drop. It was limited edition, 30, sold out in an hour. I was like, whoa, okay, so maybe there is something to this.
Yeah.
So I do every once in a while, I do these limited edition drops. So it's the brand that I do, and then it's the canvases and murals. But basically, it's a lot of things together that make me being able to be a successful artist. It's not just one thing.
That's crazy though. So you could actually pinpoint the moment you remember figuring out your tag? And it goes back to Sesame Street. How old were you when you did this shit?
That probably was like 1997.
Damn.
Yeah, I was like 97, and I didn't know. It's crazy, but I didn't know that I was gonna be an artist because when I grew up, the only way that I knew how to make money was being a drug dealer.
Damn.
So I was selling cocaine, and I was like getting really big into selling drugs. And I thought, you know what? I got, look at, here's the thing. I got kicked out of high school.
Yeah.
I got felonies. Nobody would hire me. So what else was I going to do? Right.
You had to make your own path.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I learned from the streets. I'm going to start selling drugs. And, you know, eventually I got caught. And that's the moment that I actually went 100% in on being an artist. And it's crazy because it's basically like two negatives combined, right? I took the art from graffiti, which I got arrested for.
Yeah.
I took the hustle mentality and the business entrepreneurship from selling drugs, and I combined the two, and I made a lucrative business.
That's crazy.
And how did I find that? Was when I was in the cell and I was doing portraits for $5, and I didn't have no money, but people were giving me food. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I could eat in here, why can't I eat out there?
Yeah.
And something clicked, and I was reading this book called Purpose Driven Life, and I was praying. Everybody gets
what was the book called?
It's called Purpose Driven Life.
Purpose Driven Life.
By Rick Warren.
By Rick Warren.
So
okay.
I started reading this book, and I was getting really close. I've always had a relationship with God. I don't go to church or nothing like that.
But your own relationship.
I was praying, and I said, God, why am I here? And he said, you know why you're here. And it was crazy because he spoke to me in my head. So I was like, okay, I'm not here to sell drugs. I'm not here to be a rapper. I'm not here to do graffiti. I'm here to make art. And ever since that day, I got out and I started with nothing. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And guess what? Little by little, by little, by little, by little, by little, by little, the results start to show up. It's not like you think, oh, I'm going to get signed to Dr. Dre and I'm going to blow up overnight and be a millionaire.
There's no such thing as
that doesn't
overnight.
work. There's no such thing as an overnight success.
And if people think that, it's because they didn't see the 20 years you put in behind it.
Right. And then they're like, oh, Worm's just lucky because he's got this or got that. Look,
people always think you're lucky when you start to do well. It's like, I fucking bled for this shit.
It's like, it's funny because the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Of course. Yeah, right.
And they don't see
yeah, of course.
They don't see failure, success. Oh, he's lucky. What? You didn't see all the other stuff we had to go through to get here, though.
You said a lot of cool shit. I wanna unpack it all. Let's go back in time for a second. So, what were you doing first? You mentioned like during like that time you were selling drugs and you were doing graffiti. What came first?
I started doing graffiti first. When I was like 13, I started tagging on. First, I started tagging in the alleys. Then I started tagging on every garage in the alley.
Yeah.
Then I became the alley king. In my neighborhood, I was the alley king. Then I started doing the mailboxes. Then I went to the orange line.
Was there like a big community like that? You were like all trying to be the alley king?
You know, it's like an addiction. So I grabbed onto it and I just kept going more and more and more and more and more. And it's like, it was never enough. It became an addiction.
Would you see other kids like you that you would like cross over? You try and like get their shit? Or
in the
like,
beginning, in the beginning, you had to fight for your respect.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's, you know, a lot of times you've been in competitions where you go to war. If somebody goes over you got to go over them. And then it becomes a big thing. And you had to prove that you were downer than them by doing more stuff than them or bigger than them.
Or more ballsy shit.
Or nicer. Yeah. Or nicer.
Nice. So the way you establish yourself is one, like, just kind of like by spreading your name around territory. Mm-hmm. And then two, like either like ballsy shit, like when you see people get that weird shit like on the overpass that nobody can touch.
So it's crazy because back then I used to do the crazy stuff where I would like, you know, jump over the top of a building, hang on and paint standing on a ledge.
No way.
And I thought that was like that was back then, that was like the crazier spots, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, kids
people
are using
suicidal,
ropes.
Yeah.
They're rappelling down. And I'm like, man, now they're doing more than me. I'm like, damn, you know what? I love to see it though because it's the evolution. And
it's where the culture's going.
And you can't stay like I wanted to be the king, all city king forever. And you know what? I let everything go with graffiti because guess what? Now I'm evolving into an artist. You know,
Yeah.
instead of just people painting over me, people used to paint over me and I should get yelled at or go to jail or whatever. Now people are like, I have a thing with O'Reilly's Auto where I'm doing all these O'Reilly's autos. They're paying me to do their
It's so
logo
funny.
in
But
the
years
store.
ago, they probably would have like
Yes, and
painted
they-
over your shit immediately.
No, and they want me
Yeah.
to put the worm. They're like, you have to put the worm in every store.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
like, okay. So, you know, I'm going to work on a nationwide thing with O'Reilly's where I might be painting them in all the stores.
That's amazing, dude.
And it's funny because it started with tagging on people's buildings.
Hell yeah.
So
when did you answered a lot of questions there. We figured out how you got into it. Well, we actually did it. What got you into it? I know how you started. What got you into it?
So in Chicago,
yeah.
you either have to be if you want to feel like you're a part of something, right? When
Yeah.
you're a kid, you're a teenager, preteen, whatever, you kind of want to feel like you're a part of something. You want to be cool, whatever. You want to be something bigger. So it's like people without families, they join the gangs.
Yeah.
Some people join crews. Some people do graffiti. I was always into art. And when I started seeing people's names up in the neighborhood, I started seeing it and I was like, man, that's so cool. I want to get into that. And then, you know, I started trying to mimic the people that were before me. And I was like trying to do what they did. But of course I was a toy. In the beginning, I was a toy. That's like a person that's not inexperienced. And then little by little, I worked my way up to like, you know, being good at it finally.
What, like, is that a graffiti term? Like a toy? Like
Yeah,
a novice?
a toy is somebody who's new, who hasn't crafted their skill yet.
Okay. What are like the levels?
I don't know if it's necessarily levels, but a toy is just like, it's almost an insult.
Okay.
And it's funny because at one point in my career, when I was hot from the police, they knew my name. I switched my name to Toy, which is totally crazy because nobody would write Toy.
Yeah.
Because nobody would think it would be like I was like probably 25. Nobody would think a 25-year-old man was writing Toy. They thought it was a little kid.
Yeah.
But I was up everywhere with it.
That's so funny, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's how you got into it. Was there like a kid in the neighborhood that you respected, or like a graffiti artist that like you looked up to, or were you just doing your own thing?
So when I was growing up, there was a lot of graffiti writers that I looked up to on the South Side. One of my big influences was like Nike, Temper, Pecco, Empty, Dash, Zor, Raven. Man, there's so many Benz. There's so many people that I looked up to, but I would just see their stuff and I'd be like, man, maybe one day I'm going to be able to do it like that. Because in the beginning, my letters used to be smaller. They looked like they were shrinking.
Like you were running out of paper?
Yeah, like what the hell? What happened? Like I couldn't even do my letters straight in the beginning.
Okay. And these are local guys? These are Chicago guys?
Yeah, these are all people from Chicago on the South Side.
Chicago OGs of like the graffiti world?
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are still painting today.
Damn. All right, that's how you got into it. That's how you got started. That's who you looked up to. Now, fast forward a little bit. Where did the drugs come in? If you don't mind talking about it, we could skip this too.
So the drugs started. Okay, so probably about high school, I started getting into going to raves.
Yeah,
I was smoking weed. I started doing acid. Started, you know. Then I started hustling, selling dime bags, selling hits of acid, and that was my little first experience with drug dealing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, eventually, as I got older, I got more into drug dealing to the point where I was selling about a quarter key a week bagged up. And that's when I started getting addicted to the drugs. And I would, you know, I would start off really slowly. I would just do one line and I could quit. I could say no. And then, you know, little by little, what happens is it grabs a hold of you. And it's like, one line becomes two, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And eventually, next thing you know, I started turning off my phone. I don't even want to sell no more. I just became my best customer.
I'm having a great time here with the bag. Stop blowing me up.
So yeah, that's what happens. Like, hey man, these guys want to buy all my shit.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to answer my phone.
You're in competition with your customers.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a slow and progressive downward spiral, but then it became to a point where there was like the last year or two that it was just horrible. And then the final straw was like when I OD'd, I was, you know, took Xanax and, you know, mixed it with my brother-in-law shot me up with some heroin, and he didn't know I did the Xanax, and
That's
I
a
had
bad
never,
combo, Xanax
I had
and
never
heroin?
tried, I never tried
Yeah.
heroin, but he mixed me with, you know, coming down off coke, and then doing the Xanax,
Yeah.
and then doing the heroin. It was an instant heart attack.
Yeah.
So I just woke up in the hospital, and everybody was crying, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? You know?
Yeah.
And then I had to like decide, like, do I want to live or do I want to die? And I was like, you know what? I'd rather be fighting for my life than just give up. And believe it or not, I went out and got high one more time. I was like, I'm gonna get high one more time. I got 40
One
bucks.
last hurrah.
40 bucks. I'm gonna get high one more fucking time. This is the last time, I swear.
Yeah.
And
Was
yeah, it was. That was
Damn.
that was the thing. You know, after that, my mom called me. She's like, I know you're getting high, but come here. I need to see you. And then when I went there, she was like, it was her and my kids and my brother. I'm like, what the fuck is this? She's like, this is your intervention.
Yeah. Oh my
And,
God, they had an intervention?
Yeah. And then
All
I'm
right, hang
like,
on.
man, you guys need to quit watching fucking TV.
Wait, hold there for a second. So you had an intervention. Did you were out getting high while this was happening? While this was being organized?
Yeah, but guess what? When I went there,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, we found a place for you, you know, and it's everything's set up. We even got your bags packed, and I'm like, all right. So I ended up going, and that was when I got clean. And then after I got clean, that's when I got, you know, I started getting on my feet and started doing the art stuff, but I didn't believe myself 100%. That's when I started back to selling drugs,
Yeah.
and that's when I got caught. And then
So you
after
got
that,
sober, but then you started selling drugs.
3 years sober, I started selling drugs, and it's like,
Probably made
yo,
more
what
money
are you
when you were
doing?
doing it.
I made way more.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. How can you do something that brought you down? It was like, that wasn't right. It wasn't right.
Sure.
And that's why I believe God put me in that position to show me and be like, look, I'm going to take everything from you, and I'm going to start you off with the solid start, and I'm going to let you see what you're capable of without selling drugs.
So to you, this was like a divine intervention.
Yeah, and you know what? At first, I wanted to kill the guy that snitched on me.
Oh, so hang on.
So-
I don't know the story. So what happened? Someone.
So here's the story. My daughter told me, she's like, Daddy, I was spying on my uncle, and he was talking to his friend that's a cop. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, they were talking about you. And I'm like, what? Nah, don't worry about it. And I'm like thinking, oh yeah, no, we're good. And then a week later, she's like, Papi, they seen a picture of me and you on the iPhone, and they turned on the location. They know where you live now. Ah, don't worry. And
She had all the information.
She literally told me. She told me everything.
She was trying to warn you.
And I'm like,
She got your back.
no, but see, the thing is, I was on the north side. I'm a south sider. I had an
Yeah.
apartment on the north side. I had a shop on the north side. I was like, I'm untouchable. Nobody's
Yeah.
been here. Nobody's been to this layer.
Yeah.
You know? and here it is. She was giving me the info. And
Yeah.
then, you know, they raided my house and my shop. My shop was perfectly squeaky clean, but they still took all my cash. They took all my money.
Damn.
And in my house, they found, you know, they didn't find that much. They found like maybe 4 ounces of mushrooms, 2 ounces of Molly. It was a slow day for me. I didn't have a lot of stuff. And they were mad because they called in these favors. They had like 40 cops on each
They
location.
thought it was gonna be a big bust.
They thought they were getting Tony Montana, and they were, the dude got yelled at pretty much.
So in a way, did you get lucky in that sense that like you only got so much
Yeah,
time
and guess
based
what?
on that amount?
They needed to grab me while I was there. And that day I played basketball every Thursday.
Yeah.
So I was at the gym playing basketball.
Yeah.
And someone called me, they're like, hey, they broke your window. I'm like, who broke my window? They're like, the cops. What? And then I called my partner, and he's like, yeah, they're here now. And yeah, they want to talk to you. And I'm like, yo, they're like, come here. We're going to put everything on him. And, you know, I called the lawyer. The lawyer's like, don't go, because that'd be admitting guilt. So I laid low, and probably like 6 months later, they got me.
So there was 6 months your partner went away?
No, they didn't come look for me. It was
Yeah.
just like one of those things. If you get pulled over driving, they just, oh yeah, we ran your name. You have a warrant. I'm like, warrant?
So
I
they
didn't
put
miss
a warrant
court.
out, but they never did
They
like
never
a
came.
APB or search
No,
for you.
they
We got to get
didn't.
them.
And guess what? I was in jail for about 6 months. That's when I found my talent. And you know, the money, it was like $8,000 to bond out, and it might as well have been $1 million because they took all of my money.
Right, they took
I didn't
take
have
all your
nothing.
money. Yeah.
So finally, I got money and bonded out. My mom's husband got a check and bonded me out, and then I went to trial. And the whole time I was going to trial, the lawyer's like, "This is not probationable. It's 6 to 30. You're looking at 6 to 30." You have
Months?
to plead guilty. No, 6 years.
6 to 30 years?
Yeah, and
What
I'm
was
like,
what was the charge?
it's because the mushrooms are considered a class X.
Mushrooms are I know
Class X
A.
is
What
a
the fuck's
felony.
Class X?
Class X is a bad felony.
Class X is also a bad
Yeah,
felony.
it's like similar to crack cocaine.
oh, it's like
it's
like
up
Schedule 1.
Yeah, and so
Mushrooms?
yeah, the whole time because they don't really know what it is.
Wow.
I don't know. But anyways, finally I went
I'm
to
just
trial.
shocked. Yeah.
And the day of the trial, they're like, "Oh, it says the state is willing to give you probation." I was like, "Get the fuck out of here! You've been telling me 6 to 30 for a whole year, man. Fuck you. Take me to trial."
Were you in jail during that
No,
that
I
whole
was
year?
free.
You were free.
I did 6 months in and 6 months out.
Okay.
So basically, they were trying to like get me to plead guilty because they knew they weren't going
Yeah.
to win. And then my lawyer's like, "Well, what proof do you have that he lives there?" "We found a piece of mail." "What did the mail say?" "Oh, it said the address to my shop." They're like, "Well, that actually proves that he lives somewhere else."
Yeah, right. It's not
Like,
the show.
"Oh, well, that's not guilty."
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? I had to go through what I had to go through.
So you
but
never ended up doing like that major time. You just did the 6 months while you were awaiting trial.
I won.
So your time in was the 6 months awaiting trial and the unknown of fuck, I might have to do 6 to 30 years.
One of my friends is like, "Ah, man, you're crazy, bro. I would have took that 6 years." I'm like, "Fuck you.
They
That's the
offered you
difference
6
between you
years?
and me."
You got, I mean, you really got lucky because I mean, I don't know if you got lucky. I don't know the exact details,
Well,
but
if
you
get
could have
found
gotten
guilty,
30.
you get more. Yeah,
I know you could have gotten 30. Yeah, if you don't take the 6-year plea, they ain't finding you guilty and giving you 6 years.
But you know what? I think this was a blessing from God because guess what? Not only did I find my talent, right? When I got out, I met my wife. And my
for real?
wife, I've been married 10 years now, and
Congrats.
she's been a pivotal point in my life where me and her, we're like white and rice or whatever you want to say. I don't know. We're like, we go good together. I don't know how to say it, but basically, she believed in me. Like when I met her, I didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
And I started from the bottom. You know, I couldn't even afford to take her on a date. So that's why I told her, you know what?
She's been with you the whole way.
And we built each other up.
That's
and that's why I told her,
amazing.
you know what? You were with me when I had nothing. And that's why I'm going to give you everything.
Fuck yeah.
And I appreciate everything that she's done and supported me through the years because guess what? If I didn't go to jail, I wouldn't have met her. I wouldn't have found my talent. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And you just have to find, you can't like get stuck on the negative. You have to like find the positive in everything.
Yeah. That's a good outlook, man. What were those 6? No, it was a year. What was that year like when you were like waiting for that? Was it the scariest fucking year of your life? Were you just like, fuck?
When I was in there?
Not when you were, just the whole, while you were
like
in
waiting?
there,
Yeah, you know what?
to find out if you're going to do 30 years.
It is a certain level of anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen.
It sounds like major anxiety.
Yeah, because, you know, anything can go wrong.
Right.
And
Someone could fuck you. A law could change.
I knew that they didn't have shit on me because...
So you felt confident in your case.
The thing is, I had it set up the right way, right? I
Yeah.
had an apartment where it wasn't in my name. There was no gas, no electric, no lease because it was a basement. So it wasn't... They couldn't legally give us a lease.
Yeah.
None of the bills are in our name. It was in the owner's name. I was staying with my partner, and he's the one who rented it. So technically, nothing is in my name. So I felt like secure there, and that's why I wasn't so worried until I found out about the whole geolocation on the iPhone.
Yeah.
And that technology is they can find
They
things
can find
out.
you, yeah. When you were was that the first time you had been to jail? That 6 months?
Nah, man. I've been to jail a bunch of times. So when I was a kid, that was when I first started going to jail. As a juvenile, when I was a juvenile, that was when I got into graffiti, right? And I was into it, and I was everywhere. And when they opened the Orange Line, they assembled a unit called the Vandal Squad. And the Vandal Squad was specifically to catch taggers because the Orange Line was brand new. They spent millions of dollars opening it. It was getting tore up.
Yeah.
So they started putting cops dressed like taggers.
Oh, no
with
way.
backpacks, with markers, with fat laces,
Undercover
with
shit.
Adidas, talking about, "Hey, bro, what do you write?" And they would like literally try to catch you up.
Were they obvious when you saw them?
Yeah, and it's funny because I fucked up the first time I got my first encounter with them. I fucked up because they asked me, "What do you write?" And I'm like, "Oh, my name's Down." You know, before Worm, my name was Down because I wanted to be the downest tagger.
Yeah.
And I was like, "It doesn't matter if you know my name. You didn't catch me doing anything." Oh my God.
You were wrong.
I'm dumb. Yeah, because guess what? They didn't have to catch me doing anything.
Yeah, you just
They
admitted
locked
to it.
me up
Yeah.
every time they saw me
Oh my God.
for no reason.
Because they knew who you were.
Yeah, and every time they would see a new spot, I might get locked up for the same spot 3 times from different cops.
So were you doing time, or you just doing overnight shit and getting out in the morning because you were a kid?
Less than that, like a few hours as a juvenile. But what happened is they compiled so many arrests that they put me in the Audi home, the juvenile jail.
Oh my God.
And then after that, I got intensive probation. I fucked up on that. They put me in the juvenile penitentiary.
Oh shit.
All this for graffiti.
Yeah. And then fast forward, so you go in for the first 6 months. Are you scared? Are you nervous walking in?
No, I mean,
you're not in jail now. This is probably like Cook County Correctional, right?
Yeah. Oh, when I was in Cook County, so I've been to Cook County a few times. Of course, when you first go in, it's scary.
Yeah.
And, eventually I became like a chameleon and I adapt to my environment.
Yeah.
And I always tell people this story, like, hey man, if anybody asks you what size you are, just tell them my size. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, okay, I'll tell you. These dudes came up to me in the bullpen. It's a room this size, maybe 50 people in it, scrunched up. And then these dudes are like, yo, what size are you? And I'm like, my size. Like, man, there's 3 of us. We'll fuck you up. I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna take a couple of you guys down with me. And after that, they left me alone.
Oh shit!
There was only 2 white dudes in the whole cell. Me and this one other dude. And this dude was from Des Plaines. And then they came up to him. They're like, what size are you? 9.5. Next thing you know, they left him with flip-flops. And they took his Nikes.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if somebody tells you what size you are, my size. That's one word of advice. Don't ever forget.
Okay.
If you go to the county, don't tell people what size you are. My size. You want to see? Come try to get them.
So when you went in, how long before you like had that realization where you're like, I could feed myself in here? Why can't I do this for like? What was the turning point? Like, what happened?
The thing is, every time I go to jail, people would pay me to do cards, and I was doing cards for $1. And every time I've been to county several times, every time I went, I was making money. But then this last time I went to jail, I had got caught for drugs, and I'm like, look, man, I can't sell drugs no more. Obviously, I'm not good at it. I mean, if I'm serious. Like, if you keep getting caught and you keep going to jail, you're not a good drug dealer. Maybe you should try a different profession.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not cracked up to be a drug dealer. What else can I do? And then so I'm in there, and I was like, wait a minute. When I had a box full of food and I had no money, I was like, man, I'm able to give the new person some food because they're hungry and help the next person out that was hurting. And like I was chief of the neutrons. You know what I'm saying? I helped out all the neutrons when they came in. Yeah. Because I wasn't in a gang.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that I was able to do business with everybody. And I still continue to do business with everybody because I'm an artist. That's what I'm here to do,
Do you think having that trade and being able to do that kept you out of having to like be in a gang or like need any of that? Where you just kind of he's on his own, but he's cool, or?
Yeah. Well, either when you're in there, you're either in it or you're not. And I never was in a gang.
Yeah.
I grew up in Chicago my whole life. I never joined a gang. I never repped a gang. And I do artwork for people to this day. Sometimes I do airbrush t-shirts for people that are in gangs. And that's actually a big bulk of the business is like in loving memory when people pass away. And, it's a sad thing. Like people are like, oh man, you're trying to profit off the dead. I'm like, yo, I wish none of us ever died. I wish I never had to do another one of these.
Yeah.
And then my buddy told me.
Might as well make it look nice.
My buddy Tease told me, he's like, man, people are just dying to get on your shirts. I'm like, bro, that's wrong, man. That's wrong.
So in there, you had this you started realizing you made money, and then what happened to the point you get out on probation? You start working then, or this like going full time graffiti was later?
Which part you're talking about? When I got out from
you got out and you had that realization where you were like,
oh yeah, well no, when I got out,
yeah,
I got out and I started over from nothing. I didn't have nothing. I lived with my brother who was living in a house that was foreclosed. So there was basically he was living rent free. So there was an upstairs attic apartment. It was an abandoned apartment. So I was basically started airbrushing out of an abandoned apartment. I was trapping out the bando.
Damn.
And I started off with like the airbrush gun. It just had like parts and I put them together and I made one gun and I just started making money from nothing. And I started from like very small. But I posted some pictures and, little by little, 10 years later, it's, I'm number 1 on Google now.
Are you? That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, if you search, highest rated airbrush artist in Chicago, I'm number 1 on Google. A lot of different things have been, a lot of different small victories have came my way.
Yeah.
Nothing like where I'm like, Dr. Dre signed me. I'm a millionaire. No,
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
That moment never came. But if you think about all the things now, since we're coming up to Thanksgiving, if you think about all the little small victories through the years, I just have nothing but gratitude. And I'm thankful to God, for my wife, for my family, for having a talent that I love to do, for everything that I bought a Comcast van that lifts you in the air. I'm the only artist that has one. I bought one.
Oh, you got one of those fucking forklift vans that
I
lifts
bought
you up,
it.
the cherry pickers?
Yeah, I bought it just because I didn't want to go on a ladder. People were like,
Yeah.
oh, where do you work at? You work for Comcast? I'm like, nah, man, I hate ladders.
Throw on one of those fake construction vests so nobody bothers you?
Yeah, I was like, no, I just hate ladders. You
Yeah.
think I'm OSHA certified? No, man, I just hop in and
Yeah.
press buttons, bro.
Oh, so you bought one of those vans. I didn't even know you could buy those as a citizen.
You could buy them, yeah.
That's crazy. And then you just, how high does it go?
Probably like 30, 40 feet. It goes up. It's
Damn,
high
it
enough.
goes up there.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. What keeps you motivated through all this? Obviously, you've been doing this since 1993. You've had a shit ton of ups and downs, and it sounds like you're really in a place where you're grateful now, but it doesn't sound like it was all like that. So what kept you motivated?
You know what? So here's the thing, that's another thing that was really good about me being married to my wife. It made me learn how to become a man because I grew up without a father. So I had no life skills. I didn't know how to be a father. I did no role model. So basically I had to fail and I had to fuck up, for a while. And for me to be able to be successful now, to the point where I'm with my wife and I'm able to be a provider because it's like, okay, it's sink or swim.
Yeah.
Do you handle this weight or do you handle this pressure or are you going to crack and fold? And it made me a man. It made me a man because it's like, okay, I want things now. You know what? I want things for my wife. I want things for my kids. I want to take vacations. I want a bigger house. If it was me by myself, I could live in a little shitty basement and nobody would notice.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
But
yeah.
now that I have a
people relying on
family,
you.
it makes me want more. It makes me get up out of the bed in the morning and say, you know what? I got to do this for them and I got to make a better life. And you know what? I'm not going to say every day I hit a home run because guess what? There's days that I get up and I strike out. There's days I get a bunt. There's days I get a home run. But every single day I get up, I keep swinging. And that's the thing. A lot of people are afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll never
It's a big
succeed.
thing, yeah.
They're so busy planning because they don't want to fail that they don't do the actual act.
I know a lot of planners, people who will talk about things ad nauseum. Is it better to do it like this? Or I remember when I started stand-up, people would ask me the dumbest questions, or would ask, and still ask me dumb questions. They're like, hey, is it better to eat before a set or not before a set? Who gives a fuck?
Bro, just
get
do
up
it.
there and be funny.
Right, just do it,
or be bad and figure it out. But it doesn't matter if you eat, it doesn't matter what you wear. Just fucking go.
And embrace failure.
Yeah.
Because you know what? We're all gonna fail. And that's a part of it. But the more you fail, the more you succeed because you learn from your failures. If you don't fail, that means you never tried. If you never try, you're never going to make it.
That's a huge thing. You got to fucking be ready to fail.
Be ready to fail and
also,
embrace it.
People are so afraid of it. It's not I guess it depends what you put into it, but you can come back from a failure most times,
Yeah, and you learn from it. That's the thing. You learn from failures. You don't learn from your successes.
Yeah. Oh, I failed at everything, dude. I've been fired maybe 100 times. Dude, I used to be I got fired. My funniest one is when it was 2008 or something like that, and I moved up to Minneapolis. I was in St. Paul, just outside of Minneapolis, and I couldn't find a job for shit. I couldn't find my rent was so cheap. It was living in a basement for $350 a month. I couldn't fucking find a job. Finally, one of my buddies goes, just go to Home Depot at 5 a.m. Some guys will take you to work. And I go, okay. So I get to Home Depot pretty early, and these pickup trucks would come full up. And they'd be like, hey, you speak Spanish? And I just go, yeah. I speak no fucking Spanish. They'd be like, pick your 10 best guys and let's go. And I just pick people. We'd get in the van. They'd fucking take us to the job site. And these guys knew what to do, I guess. And the guy who wanted the job done would tell me, and then he'd walk away, and these guys would get to work. So for 3 weeks, I was making $50, $100 cash. They were like, hey, thanks. Yo, make sure you're here at 5 a.m. tomorrow. And I kept this thing going. Then finally they were like, hey, yo, tell these guys that this is the wrong color and this needs to be over there. And they were standing there waiting for me to tell them. And I was like, And
you didn't even know Spanish the whole time, right?
I was like, wow. Azul. And the guy was like, you don't speak any fucking Spanish, do you? And I was like, no, it's like like a regional thing. He was like, get the fuck out of here.
Hey, but at least you worked for a little bit, right?
No, yeah, I was able to make my rent for 2 months. And then I found a shitty job as a cook. I did like a whole bunch of shit. But like, point being, like, fucking gotta fail. And you fucking, I had a clothing company. I had a bunch of shit. You just fail at it.
Yeah, and
It's
you know
one
what?
big failure.
I think the thing is, nobody would hire me, right? Because I'm a felon.
Yeah.
I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have training. But guess what? I have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So guess what? With no degree, no diploma, felonies, nobody would hire me. What am I gonna do? Can't sell drugs no more. I'm already burned up. So I hired myself.
That's interesting. So when you say you hired yourself, you're like, I'm just gonna fucking build myself up in this thing I do, this art graffiti thing, and figure it out.
Well, I hired myself. The first airbrush.
What does that
job,
mean? Yeah.
Nobody would hire me, so I hired myself.
Oh, literally, you hired yourself.
I said, you know what? I gave myself a job. I said, guess what? You're an artist.
Yeah.
And ever since that day, I've been an artist. But I knew the owner of the carnival because when I was a kid, we used to tear down the rides. My uncle used to be a carny.
Okay.
We used to tear down the Tilt-A-Whirl and get $50. Back in the day, $50 was a lot of money. That's $25 an hour. We worked 2 hours. I'm like, okay, it's hard work lifting steel.
Yeah.
And but I became friends with the owner. And I told the owner one day, I was like, hey man, let's talk business. He's like, all right, let's go 50-50. We open a tent up doing airbrushing at his carnival. I traveled with them for one season. It was a lot of it was hell because it was like some days you make $50, some days you make $1,500.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, on those days that I made money, I'm like, yo, I just made more money than I made, selling coke. Because before I used to be like, I remember my friend Reps, he gave me the airbrush gun. I'm like, what is this? He's like, bro. He's like, make money. I'm like, what do you mean make money? I make $1,000 a day selling cocaine. He's like, nah, bro, make money with this. I'm like, I didn't believe it. But then, the seed was planted. And when I started at the carnival, that's when I started seeing the proof of the seed. I'm like, man, you know what? There is money in this. And now, I feel like I make drug money legally now because I used to bag fish scale and I would sell out before I could put it in the bag. And guess what? Now I'm doing hoodies or t-shirts for my brand and they're sold out before I could even put them in the bag. Nice. I'm like, yo, I'm selling dope, but it's not dope.
Yeah.
But it is dope.
It's dope shit.
But it is dope.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But it ain't drugs.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a good feeling. It just reminds me of it's. You know what? It's if anything, if I could tell anything to anybody, would be that if you're a drug dealer, you're an entrepreneur, you're a CEO, and you have a business mindset, and you could flip anything.
Yeah.
All you have to do is change the product. So the same hustle mentality of okay, I'm gonna buy this wholesale, break it down, sell it. You can do that with any product. So that's what I'm trying to tell people.
You're saying it's like marketing. However you approach the product.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
You have it. Once you have it, it's in you. And once you become a hustler and it's in your blood, switch the product. You don't got to sell drugs forever. People think that, this is all I can do. This is all
you're
people.
Just saying, I know how to sell now.
It's
you
easy.
Transfer that to anything you want to do.
Yes.
Okay.
People, they think that that's all they're able to do because that's what I used to think.
Yeah.
I used to think, man, all I can do is sell cocaine, weed, Molly.
I would think
mushroom.
that too because there's a huge market for
There's
drugs.
a big market for it. But guess
people
what?
love them.
I
love them sometimes.
You can make more money selling other things if you applied yourself.
Okay.
But people are like, but how? By doing it.
But yeah, by trying and failing.
You can't
and
learning. And
yeah.
that's the thing. Like I have a friend that's like, oh, nobody goes to my shows. I hate my job as a chef. And I'm like, bro,
he's got
you're not an
shows
artist.
and a chef.
I'm like, bro, you're not an artist. You're a chef. I'm
Yeah.
like, you want to be an artist? Quit your job and be an artist. But how would I pay my bills?
Figure it out.
Because by putting in the work, you 100%. The everything else will show up because the thing is, if you have a plan B, that's just telling yourself, you're telling the universe that you don't believe in your plan A.
Yeah.
So it's a little scary, but when you jump off that cliff and you take that leap, if you take that leap, the results show up through the time and effort and energy that you put into it.
Yeah, man, that's very true. That's very true. What accomplishment thus far are you most proud of?
Wow. I don't know. I've had a lot. I mean, I could say I don't know. That's a tough one. I would say there's more than one. I think when I was a kid, my biggest accomplishment was being the All City King, right? That was the highest title.
Okay.
As I got older, things changed. I think my biggest accomplishment now is the fact that I'm able to create something from nothing every single day. And I wake up with nothing in my hands, but I'm able to create something and create, wealth for my family and able to support my family doing something that I like to do. Because so many people I know my age are already stressed out and hate their jobs and hate their life and they're miserable and they do it. And I have a certain sense of freedom that a lot of people don't have. Yeah. And I think that happiness, having a wife I love, having a job I love is more, I think that's the biggest accomplishment ever.
I love that answer. Do you, what do you think, how would you describe your style and where do you think it came from?
So it's crazy because my style is a graffiti art, street art, whatever, fine art, mixed style. And a lot of people, they've like said, oh, airbrushing isn't an art, it's a skill. And I'm like, look, man, airbrushing is an art. It's actually really an art, but it's looked at differently, right? So I use the two things that I use. I've always used spray paint and I've always used airbrush. So now when I'm doing my paintings, I mix it up, spray paint and airbrush. And the two things that represent me, the two things that I've done, that I've used my whole life. And I don't care if people say, oh, that's a skill. Okay, whatever. I'm going to make my art. If I want to throw paint on the canvas and call it a Picasso, then hey, I'm going to call it a work of art. And as long as I like it and I'm happy with it, I don't really care what everybody else thinks.
So you don't necessarily have a style. It almost sounds more like a statement to me.
Yeah. No, and I've tried. No, the thing is, I'm like water. Water is always flowing. Water is always moving.
All right, Bruce Lee. Let's hear it.
No, it's true though.
Yeah.
I believe that if you're stagnant and you stay in one place for too long, you're gonna die. So I keep moving. My styles are always changing. I'm always trying new things. I'm buying new equipment, trying new styles, always trying new things, because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And that's the difference. A lot of these older people, they're like, oh no, don't use this, don't use that, don't use projectors, don't use bro, use what you want. Use a stencil, use a projector. You know what? When you get to the point of making money professionally, time is money. And if something's gonna save you time and make you more money, go ahead and do it. They don't pay your bills, so fuck them.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you were saying earlier. Like the next generation's doing crazier shit. They got ropes and rappelling. Like, that's the evolution.
That would have been me. Yeah, that would have been me. Look, if I didn't have this dad bod, if I was 40 pounds lighter and 20 years younger, that would have been me. The thing is, I got to a point where I'm like, I've did it all. Yeah. I've did it all. I've already conquered it. So it's like, do you want to keep conquering the same goal? Or do you want to conquer something new? So my new goal is the art world. And now I'm basically starting over from scratch and I'm a toy again, because I'm barely getting my name known in the art world. So now I have to, it's humbling to start over.
You're moving worlds. You're going from the graffiti world to the art world.
Yeah, but the difference is now I'm trying to get into these high-end galleries and I'm trying to get into these high-end, shows. And, I want these big checks with the commas and you know what? And I believe that everything that you want, you can get if you put your mind to it and just hold on to it and never let go. People let go too soon.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, the one common denominator between everybody who gets where they want to be is they didn't give up.
Right.
You could fail as many times, but the people who all get where they want, they just didn't give up.
And you could be on the verge of a breakthrough. The grass could be willing to cut through at any moment. And then you're like, oh, I give up.
Yeah.
And you gave up at the moment. Like
most people do.
Right before the miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you have no idea when it's coming.
Yeah. And that's why I tell people, just hold on to what you want. Some things take longer than others. Some things are faster than others. It's not up to you to figure out how to get it. It's up to you to hold on to the vision of what you want. That's all you have to do. The work, put in the work, hold on to the vision. The universe will give you the rest. It'll even throw little guidelines, or you might see something that you didn't see. Something will pop up to you, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, hey, it happened.
Are you a spiritual person?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
So I'm not really religious,
like law
but
of
I'm
attraction
spiritual.
shit. I hear a
Yeah,
lot of
no,
that what
I
you're
believe no, I
saying.
believe in the law of attraction. And actually I've used it several times. I used it to attract my van for years. I wanted that van because I was tired of going on ladders. Finally, I attracted it. I held on to it. It took me about 3 years. And then, when I was in jail for 6 months, before I went to jail, I had, a bunch of girls I was talking to, but none of them were there. And then I just wanted one girl that was perfect, that was beautiful, that was everything. And then when I got out, I met my wife, and it was like organic. Everything was clicked. It was like she was everything I wanted in a woman. So it was like I attracted her. And then I could think of several things that I've attracted with the law of attraction. And now I have a new vision board. I have a new list of things that I'm going to attract. One of them is being #1 on Netflix. Because
talk to me about that.
Because I have I'm working on a documentary where I want to give it away, because I don't need fame, I don't need money. I just want to give it away as my way of giving back to the universe. Yeah. Because I can't right the wrongs that I've did, but if I can help one person by hearing my story, if I can inspire one person, then that would be my way of giving back. If I can be #1 on Netflix, I figure that would be a good platform to let people hear about it. Another one is like, a big house with a swimming pool, stuff like that for the kids.
Hell yeah. Gotta take care of the kids.
Yeah. And of course, money.
What was the nicest person? What was the nicest thing somebody's ever done for you?
So there's two things that I could think of that really touched my heart, and they were two of my closest friends, and I'll never forget to this day. But it's two different stories about money, and it was during my time when I was, struggling with addiction, and I was off and on with it, and I was spiraling. But my friend Reps, he was my best friend since high school. So he was in the hallway waiting for me, and I was coming outside. I was gonna go play basketball, and my ex was like, "You piece of shit! You can't even afford $20 to pay for diapers. What good are you?" And I came out, and I came out with my head down. And then as soon as I opened the door, I guess he heard. He's like, "Man, tell that bitch to shut the fuck up." And he gave me that $20. And you know what? That moment that he did that, I was like, man, that's love. That just picked me up, man, because I was like feeling so down. Yeah. And then another moment was with my friend Theory, one of my good friends since high school. We were roommates. And like I was struggling with addiction, and I had paid money towards the gas bill at my ex's house. I wasn't living with her, but I was helping her out because for my kids, Anyways, the gas got cut off, and my kids had to take cold showers. They're crying, and like that hurt me. So I was like emotional, and I was like crying and writing rhymes in the kitchen, and then he's like, "Bro, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm short on this bill, and the heat got cut off." And he's like, "Here, bro." It was like $300 or $400. He's like, "Here, bro, I got you." And I'm like, and then a couple weeks later, and I try to pay him back, and he's like, "Nah, bro, you're good. You don't got to pay me." And I'll never forget that stuff. Friends that were there from you without you asking, those are your real friends. And like those moments, I'll never forget, because I was at my lowest. Yeah. And all the people that were there for me when I didn't love myself, like during my addiction, I'll never forget those people. I can't think of like the nicest thing someone's ever done. I don't know.
I mean, I think you answered the question pretty well.
Those are probably like in my memory, like the top two nicest things that I think any of my friends have ever done.
And what I like about it is like it's more so where you were and what it meant to you, not so much. Like it was just $20, right? Like. But it was the timing of the $20. Yeah.
And it's so crazy, because sometimes I get caught up in this hustle and bustle, and I'm like, yo, I'm trying to make it as an artist. I want to, and my friend's like, "Hey man, did you ever stop to think maybe you already made it?" Yeah. I'm like, "Hey bro, what are you talking about? I'm not charging $20,000 for a painting yet." Bro, how many artists support their whole family for art, bought a house from art, bought 3 vehicles from art? How many artists are living off of art? I was like, you know what? Thank you, God, because you know what? I have to remember that it wasn't that long ago that I couldn't afford $20 for diapers. And I have to remember those moments and be like, you know what? You're doing good. You're doing good, Greg. You know what? Keep it up. Because we're on this hustle and bustle. And when you're on the grind, you're just on this go, 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 go. Man, stop and say thank you once in a while, because you did something. I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? Be proud of yourself.
You gotta relish in your wins and your losses, but you gotta like know when they're there.
Yeah,
That's
every once in a
interesting.
while.
For sure, not all the time. You don't want to get weird about it, but like every once in a while, you got to be like, I did this. I've been thinking about that too recently. Like for so long, I like so many things. I want to be the best musician. I want to be the best comedian. You know,
There's always more.
There's always more. But then one day it hit me. I was like, I think I just want to be the best person. Best person I can, and then I want to do whatever jokes that guy tells, or like play whatever music that guy tells, and like it shifted. It's like I don't have to do all. I could want it, and I can work for it, but it doesn't have to define me. I don't have to be miserable till I get there.
Yeah, and I noticed too, it's better just to do whatever you think is funny or whatever I think is nice. Because when I start trying to force myself to do what I think is gonna sell, it don't sell. But then when I do,
that's just conforming to the algorithm. But when I do
whatever I feel like and it'll be the most effortless stuff. It's people are jumping for it.
Yeah, because it's authentic.
Yeah, and it's crazy like that. Like it's better to just let it go. Do you?
Yeah, my buddy who was sitting right where you're sitting a couple weeks ago, Calvin Evans, really funny comedian. Also knows Joey well. He's over at Zany's all the time. But he was saying, he's like, I asked him like what motivates him and like what does he appreciate. He said that. He said people who are authentic. I don't care if you're good or bad or whatever. Just be authentic, and I appreciate that so much more than just anything else. Because it makes you a real person.
Yeah.
All right, couple questions for you. We'll get out of here soon, but like from Chicago, what is your number one go-to Chicago food spot?
Oh shit! Damn. I like damn.
And it could be like whatever. What's the top of your list? Like I gotta have that, or like it connects with childhood. I went here when I was a kid.
My favorite food is pizza, and I also like Paco's Tacos because that's by my house.
What pizza?
I like thick crust.
From where? Does it matter?
I have a lot of places. I don't want to advertise all of them. We're in Chicago, so
yeah. All right. So Southside Pizza. What do you think of Vito's and Nick's? You ever do Vito's and Nick's? Vito's and Nick's.
I haven't tried that.
Okay, I like
that's
that.
That's the next one. I'm gonna have to try.
I like that one. Also, we had Professor Pizza in here last week.
Yeah,
he's popping up a couple pizza places. He's got one in Old Town and one in West Loop. He's legit. He's winning a bunch of awards.
And by the way, he has to pay you for that now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's
you know what the price is? He's delivering one pizza to the studio every Tuesday.
Okay. Hey, I'm gonna be back on Tuesday.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Come hang and we'll have some fucking pizza, man. What is your number one go-to Chicago food? It sounds like it's pizza.
Yeah.
Give me one spot. Give me one.
I like. You know what? My favorite right now is Durbin's.
Durbin's.
Yeah, it's a bar, but they make some really good pizza.
Where's Durbin's?
It's a bar in the southwest. I think it's the south suburbs. Yeah, it's like south suburbs, but
yeah,
it's a bar. All they sell is wings and pizza, but the pizza, the thin crust, is delicious.
Fuck yeah, I love a good thin crust, man. What's your favorite song of the moment? Of the moment right now, not like of all time.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I have a favorite.
What's your favorite of all time, then?
Wow. You know, I don't know.
I'm hitting you with the hard questions.
Yeah.
You went through your whole life like that.
Music. Okay, I love my music. I don't know if anybody knows I used to rap. I put out 2 albums.
Okay.
So you could search up WermOne, WERM space ONE.
Okay.
Where's
it on? YouTube?
I have YouTube videos. I have Spotify.
Shit. Okay.
Pandora, all that. I love my music probably the best.
Worm, WERM space 1. So you're your favorite artist. And why wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
Good for you. They're looking it up now. There you are.
Put on Paint Away the Pain. Yeah, so
let's hear one of them. Which one? Paint Away the Pain? Paint Away the Pain.
That was the first one that popped up.
Look at you crossing borders.
Yeah.
Are these all you?
Yeah, those are all mine.
This is YouTube.
A lot of it is rap music, and then I started getting into. If you go to it pops up. But anyways, a lot of them I started doing little things like painting videos and stuff like that.
Is this your video?
Oh yeah, go ahead, put it on.
Yeah, let's get some sound. Let's watch this shit. Is this you tagging? Yeah. That's sick.
There's another music playing in the background.
Was this a Graffiti Made Me Rich?
Some other music's playing in the background.
Yeah, guys, I think you got the other.
It's okay. You know we got to start that over. Nah.
Yeah, we know we
So
do.
anyways, this video was over 100 shots. It was shot by Nick Brzezinski. And this dude blew up. He's in Hollywood right now.
Is he really?
Yeah, he does nothing but major artists, red carpet events.
Hell yeah.
And he was out there bombing with me. This dude is a crazy ass white boy climbing on rooftops with me.
This looks
Yeah,
good,
Nick's
man.
cool. That's the goat of a film.
I've seen your tags around the city.
At one point, I had it everywhere. You know,
I remember this. Was it like maybe like 8-9 years ago? You were
Maybe more, yeah.
everywhere. This is sick. This is such a cool video. You're on the Brown line.
we went everywhere. We went all over the city. Huh? Huh?
He asked if you would tag the wall.
Oh
before
yeah,
we
for
leave.
sure.
Oh fuck yeah!
No
that'd be
way.
sick.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get that on camera.
So this is the song that kind of got me famous originally.
This is
And
sick, dude.
It kind of became
I love the video
for the-
too, and I
for the
love what you're
subculture.
doing. Yeah.
It's over 100 shots.
So you just were out here for days.
We
doing
did this in one
shit.
day.
This is one day.
Yeah, we filmed this in one day.
What, like a long ass day? I would
A lot of the
imagine.
stuff was already done, and then
Okay.
some of it was on the spot.
That's so fucking cool. Damn. So you've been around. You've been doing everything. What's the next big thing you have coming up?
Let's see. The next big thing I have coming up. I'm working on trying to get into a show. I'm with one of my buddies. I'm working on doing a gallery show. What else? Right now, I'm doing a giveaway for Michael Jordan. I have a portrait of Michael Jordan hugging a trophy.
I saw that.
Yeah. So
Can
here's
you
the
pull
thing.
that up? It's on his Instagram. It's like the first picture.
So here's the thing. A lot of people can't afford, $1,000 for a painting
Yeah.
or something
Well,
like
that's a
that.
lot, yeah.
So I said, you know
There
what?
it is.
What if I could give you this piece for $23? And for a ticket is $23, and one of these people is
Oh, it's
going to
a
win.
raffle.
Yeah, basically. And one of these people is going to get a painting, one of them is going to get a print, one
That's
of them is
such a
going to get
smart
a t-shirt
idea.
and hat.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing, people have my art in their homes. At first I was like, oh, am I devaluing my art by doing this? And I'm like, my other friends are like, yo, you're a fucking genius. You're selling your stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, the last raffle I did, a 20-year-old kid had a $1,000 piece in his front room for a $20 ticket, and it felt good to be like, knowing that people that normally couldn't afford the art are able to have high quality art, and I'm still selling my art, but I'm giving it away to people, and it's just good to know.
It's a way for you to make money and also give it away at a reasonable price.
Yes, and it's a little bit of a hustle to do, but I see people raffling shoes, raffling cars, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, why don't I raffle somebody? I had a bunch of canvases left
That's a
over.
sick painting
I was
too.
like,
I
why-
love that.
Thank you. And I was like, why don't I just raffle them off? I was like, okay, I'll take a 600. Okay,
Yeah.
30 people times 20. I can get 30 people to give me $20. And guess what? One person goes home a lucky, happy winner.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I still got spaces left on this Jordan raffle, so if anybody wants to get on it,
Okay, this is
I
coming
don't know.
up
I don't know.
probably-
It might be sold out by the time this
It's coming
comes out.
up
Who knows?
mid-January, but if we have a new one, we'll throw it on the bottom here. Just give us the link to it, and we'll throw it
it'll
up.
be-
Yeah,
it might be sold by then.
whatever. If you get another one coming, or if not,
Either way, follow my page, and then this way, if
What's
you
your
follow
page?
My, WERM312, Worm312 on Instagram. Follow me. I have a lot of cool stuff popping up, giveaways, limited edition clothing drops, prints, canvases, you name it, I got it.
fuck yeah. Any words of wisdom that you want to leave us with?
Believe in yourself, be original, don't be afraid to fail, never let go of the things that you want in life, and think about the end result every day, and imagine like you already have it, and put in the work every day to get it, and you can do anything and you can have anything you want if you put your mind to it.
Fuck yeah. It was good talking to you, man. It was greater meeting you. For sure. Appreciate it.